Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hey, PD.
Jake, Maika, welcome to Popternative. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey,
How's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. Jake, this film is pretty interesting because you look at a lot of other projects you've worked on with like White Lotus, where you're working with a lot of people. This is kind of like the complete opposite, where it's just you and Maika for a lot of scenes. Does the mindset change a lot, or is it all kind of storytelling for you, just working with like two people compared to an ensemble?
Well, it's always to me, it's like, what story are we telling? Like that's always my priority. I think what shifts a little, with a movie that's contained like this, there's just two of you, is that there's like hopefully, if everybody's on board, an intimacy and like a collaborative feeling in like building this together, along with Dan and Bobby, who wrote and directed it, and you just get to feel like you're really in the mix with one another and not kind of on the sidelines being like, how do I contribute a little and then kind of step back and let this be its own shape? You really get to be in there and go like, no, I'm going to mold and change this. And it was wonderful.
Oh, no, absolutely. Now, Maika, spoiler alert. I mean, it's not your first project in the horror thriller genre.
Certainly isn't.
Yeah, what continues to drive you to work in this genre? You can maybe speak to it specifically with a psychological horror perspective with Significant Other. Is there anything specifically?
I mean, I don't know. I was talking about this earlier, but I really think, there's been a shift in the horror genre, and it's over the past 10 years is really very elevated and really complicated characters that are intriguing and very cool filmmakers kind of working in this space. So I mean, this wasn't like a plan. I wasn't like, I'm gonna do horror and the horror movies are gonna do awesome every time. It just sort of has happened, and I feel super lucky, I guess.
Jake, is there pressure to work in the horror thriller genre these days, knowing there's so many eyeballs and some of the best like projects that are coming out are like a horror film or a thriller? And if you agree that there is pressure, do you thrive under that pressure specifically?
I don't really feel any pressure, unless there's like some big scheme, at my age that I don't know about, where they're like, get him in a horror movie right now, like that plan was not passed by me. No, I just like, somebody asked like, how do you make these choices? And a guy I was speaking with was like, it's not that hard. There's usually like one or two choices that you have to make, which is like, should I do this project or not do this project? It's not like when you go to the grocery store and you're like, there's 1,000 things I could buy. Like, and this script came my way and I thought it was bizarre and weird and fun and different. And then knew Maika was attached, was a fan of her work, and knew, Dan and Bobby spoke with them. And so it's much more like job to job, and
it's like also collaborative, it sounds like too. Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's cool. It's like, I hadn't really done something in this world before, and I hadn't seen a script like this before. And so that's exciting. You know what I mean? But it's again, like similar to what Mike is saying, it wasn't a conscious thing where I, called my manager and was like, find me a genre bending thriller comedy to do, guys. Like, what's the holdup? But I agree, there is like a lot of really interesting, cool, successful like filmmaking and storytelling coming out of this genre. So it's wonderful to like dip into and go like, oh, this is how you work in this narrative format.
Yeah. And Maika, this because this is more kind of like psychological thriller than like a horror, but the horror fans like eat it all up. They eat up the psychological thriller. They eat it all up. I
do love it all. Yes.
Which is awesome. Very quickly, what are you hoping they get out of it, Maika, when they watch Significant Other on Paramount Plus? Super quick.
Oh man, I feel like even reading this script, I like had no idea where it was going, and I just think that there's so many great twists. So I don't know. I hope people are scared and also laughing, and also kind of not expecting a movie like this.
Streaming on Paramount Plus October 7th. Thank you both so much for your time. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.